Toy Story 2. Probably one of my favorite Pixar movies. In fact, probably my favorite sequels for the Toy Story series. And it really had a really cool game for the PlayStation 1. This also came out for the Dreamcast and the Nintendo 64, but to be honest, I prefer the PlayStation 1. So, for me, this was a really good game growing up. And what exactly is this? It is an action-adventure platformer collectibles game. So, what does that mean? I'll give it to you straight. In every level, there's 5 Pizza Planet tokens, one which you have to collect 50 coins for ham, one where you basically go through a mysterious platforming challenge, basically like a little hidden one that you have to find yourself, a boss Pizza Planet token, which every level has one, a collect all 5, essentially like say, collect 5 of these things and then you get a Pizza Planet token. There's a challenge, let it be a race, or you need to collect things at a certain time limit, and so on. But the game is pretty much straightforward as to what this is. A collectibles platformer game that surprisingly holds up pretty well to this day. Like, you see this thing that he did with the visor? I like to imagine that's something that Metroid Prime over time kinda, but not directly, probably takes inspiration from. And honestly, this game has a lot of cool music and soundtrack, which I grow to myself loving so much over the years. And again, you're playing as Buzz Lightyear trying to rescue Woody. And what I love about this game entirely is that essentially it's the movie, but with extended scenes throughout the levels. So what do I mean extended scenes? Essentially, you're going through the movie, but they're adding extra layers of levels for you to travel into. So like in Al's Toy Barn, there's actually Al's Space Barn. I'm like, whoa, really? That actually is a thing. And they added that just so that you can have the immersive of being Buzz Lightyear, the toy, and being able to go on this big epic adventure to save Woody. And here I am fighting the, the fake Buzz, well, not the fake one, the one that goes like, the one with the... I think it's the one with the utility. Yeah, it is the one with the utility belt. The one where he immediately mistaken Buzz like as an AWOL space ranger. And of course, over time, you get to see how the levels change. You go from Andy's neighborhood to alleys and going to defeat a crazy, well, not a crazy, but rather a scary, slimy trash monster. And then, of course, you make your way all the way up to Al's penthouse and then rescue Woody at the very end at the airport at the end of the movie. And speaking of which, those are actually one of my favorite levels in the entire game. Besides Al's Space Barn, the entire 2 levels are the Tarmac Trouble and Airport Infiltration. Essentially airport levels, which ironically as a kid, this made me love going on flights and going on airplanes because thanks to Toy Story 2, both the movie and of course the PlayStation 1 game, it has basically been like my favorite area to kind of more or less be excited about whenever I go to do traveling. Call me weird, but basically, Toy Story 2 made me love going on airplanes and airports, if that kind of makes sense to you. Of course, there are a couple of there's a couple of flaws with this. Sometimes, like when it comes to, as you can pretty much tell, Buzz trying to grab onto ledges or a few other things. Sometimes the game will not detect you actually grabbing the ledges. Then there are times that you may not actually grab onto like certain areas or like say, like handlebars and ropes and all of that. And the platforming can be a little tricky, but I wouldn't exactly call it like something where, oh, it's a bad game because of that. It has, again, some of its flaws. And of course, trying to get everything in the same level at once is also something that you need to consider with the fact that you also need to collect power-ups, or in this case, special collectible power-up items that are scattered throughout the levels, and you can only get them to Mr. Potato Head. But in order to get those, Mr. Potato Head he basically has a missing piece, say like his ear, his mouth, his nose, or one of his eyes. You collect that for him and you get basically an item that helps you progress throughout the game. And sometimes these are very much necessary in order for you to progress in the game. So for example, if you go to the elevator, literally the elevator level, in order to get the grappling hook, look, you need to go in the opposite direction before you go up in the ducts. You need to find Mr. Potato Head's mouth, or perhaps Mr. Potato Head's like ear. I forgot which was which. I know that the mouth was the one you need to find at the airport, at least in that section where you can get the hover boots. But yes, basically, this game makes you go through a lot to explore and really immerse yourself in the world of the Toy Story universe. As to like, look at this right now. Like, you're literally seeing lasers being shoot out, and both the Buzz Lightyear and the Zurg figures seem to think of you as an enemy, so they're shooting you because essentially they're going on a big war. Like, imagine you go to Toys R Us years ago, and then all of a sudden you see a light show, and you just happen to see G.I. Joe battling against, I don't know, He-Man action figures or something, because apparently they're upset that none of the kids prefer taking them. Instead, they wanted to take, like, I don't know, maybe some other random obscure toy figures, and now they're battling it out to see who gets to be the dominant toy line series or something like that. I don't know. I'm just going by what comes to, comes to the top of my head with this kind of stuff. And to be perfectly honest, I really like the way that this game even feels and plays to this day. Like, I kid you not, this is probably one of the easiest platformer games once you kind of really, and also easy to 100% too, because once you kind of more or less know what you're doing and you have like a good sense of how the game plays and everything, this legit can be easy to get like all the Pizza Planet tokens and do 100%. I will say this because I want to mention this here. For some reason, the trophies for the PlayStation 4 and 5 don't seem to show up at all. I noticed after I basically looked this up where, hey, I wonder if these things have trophies, and apparently they do. But I guess this might be a bit of a maybe like sort of niche thing, but I will say this. In order for you to sort of unlock the trophies, because listen, I have been playing this for years, and as soon as like I was playing this on a stream, that's when the trophies decided to come out. I am not kidding. The trophies, for whatever strange reason, only seems to come out whenever I was streaming on Twitch. And I actually did a stream of this game a little while back, and for some reason, that's when the trophies decided to pop off. Now, I will say it only for the modern day stuff, because again, if you're looking forward to playing this game, but also if you're like a trophy hunter or something like that, or a trophy collector, technically speaking, you need to either stream this game, or for whatever strange reason, find a workaround with it, because for the last few months when I got this game, especially since I've owned it back in my PlayStation 3, the digital version, it, for whatever strange reason, never showed me a trophy list, and even when I completed every single thing for all the 50 Pizza Planet tokens, it just didn't seem to show up, which I honestly thought it was extremely weird, considering that some of them are really easy, and I go, yeah, I did all of this. Like, there's like a challenge where you're supposed to collect Bo Peep's sheep, and that immediately gives you a trophy. That's like literally the very first thing that you do on the very first level. And of course, there's like the one trophy where you have to basically race RC without using the rocket boots, which if you can look it up online, there's a very easy way to get that. Like, trust me, it's really that easy. You'd think it would be difficult, but it's pretty easy. I even tried it myself because I thought, you know what, let's see what happens if I did it like this, and it actually works like that. It's actually a trophy, and I just did that whole part for fun, and I'm like, wow, that actually does work then, huh? Okay, but now going back to the game itself, I definitely recommend this for people who are basically either new to platformers or those who simply just love Disney games, because I did grow up also playing Toy Story 1 on the Sega Genesis, but hopefully one day we get to have, you know, a collection of Toy Story games, literally with this one included, and then of course there's Toy Story 3, and then of course Toy Story 1 for Super Nintendo Genesis. Hey, if TMNT can do a lot of like collections, and then, you know, everywhere else can do exactly that, like, I mean, Mortal Kombat Collection is doing that, where you can basically play like the Sega and the Super Nintendo versions of the games prior from the classic, you know, from the classic games, then I don't see why we can have a Toy Story collection where you can play, oh yeah, this on the PlayStation 1, but it's like a separate thing. Rare Replay does the exact same thing, where you can basically play certain games, but games like Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie and Perfect Dark and a couple of other games, you can play it separately, but you can technically have it as part of the collection. So again, a collection with all the Toy Story games from 1 to 3 isn't exactly something I go, isn't that hard to work with. Hell, I would even like to play the handheld versions, even like the Game Boy Color versions of Toy Story 2, which I did play, but thanks to people on the internet, I was able to use a cheat code to get to the end of the level, because, oh man, that game wasn't exactly for the faint of heart, especially Toy Story 2 on the Game Boy Color. I also like to play Toy Story Racer again. Now, that's another good game as well. Alright, to conclude this, since, you know, I've been rambling long enough with everywhere else around this, Toy Story 2 for the PlayStation 1 is absolutely a great game. I definitely do recommend this for people who definitely want to try this out. Like I mentioned, there are a couple of like nuances where, you know, I would say gripping onto certain areas or doing stuff during the platforming can be a little irritating or a little tricky, but once you kind of get used to the feel of the game, it really becomes very fun to do. It's a very 100% easy game to literally get everything for trophies, and of course getting all the Pizza Planet tokens. And one thing I should probably mention is that I like the theme that it was going with. If you go to the map of the game, you literally see like literally where it goes from the neighborhood, then you see construction site, and then alleys, and then Al's Toy Barn, and then Al's Penthouse, and then it goes 2 levels for the airport. It's like legit, it follows a theme. It goes from Andy's neighborhood to random street areas, then Al's Toy Barn, and then the rest kind of follows suits itself. I just think it's generally impressive that after all these years, this game definitely holds up, and it's pretty much a really fun game in my heart. And again, definitely recommend it if you definitely want to try something new and you want to try a very classic PlayStation 1 game that isn't really too difficult, but at least can give you a bit of a good session to really play in. If anything, to 100% this game in terms of running time, I would say about an hour and 2 hours. Maybe like if you're struggling at best, maybe 3. But yeah, that's basically the best way to describe how long this game can take. But other than that, that's basically been my distinction of Toy Story 2 for the PlayStation 1. I definitely recommend it for everybody else to give it a shot. And hey, who knows, maybe I might do another video talking about another game that I liked growing up as a kid, or something else entirely. Until then, see you Space Rangers in the next video. Peace!